All right, so what do you have for the YouTube people this time?
Well, I was thinking about how rough this winter was because all winter long, well, I didn't go out the door a lot of days, and I didn't get to church very much either because the weather has been almost zero or sometimes below zero. And the Northeast and the eastern part of the United States especially had, well, just about all over the United States, we've had a rough winter. Now in some areas there's flooding because the snows start to melt. And so Linda and I spent most of the winter away from home. First they went to a safari in Africa with not two other couples, and then they come back to North Carolina to where their son, my grandson, lives, and their my two little great grandsons, Corbin and Eli. Well, Eli's birthday's in February, Corbin's in March, so they come back to spend their birthdays with them. And in the meantime, between Eli and Corbin's birthday, they went to Rio de Janeiro to Carnival. So they've been away practically all winter. So they just got home Sunday. This is the 10th of March, so they got home on the 8th of March, and there was quite a bit of snow on their driveway. They had to back up and try twice to get up to their house. But I spent most of my winter inside, and some of the things, well, other than having a cold and being sick half the time, some of the things that we do for entertainment in here is I read a lot, and there's people that I know that don't read at all. But we work on jigsaw puzzles a lot. And some of the things, my daughter knows I read a lot, so this is one of my Christmas presents. And it's a nice book to just pick up when you don't have anything else to do and read poems. And I was surprised at how many poems were in here that we learned when I was
give the camera a good shot of the cover so people can see what it's called. There you go.
Book of poems. And that's one of the things I do to entertain myself. This is another one, crossword puzzles. And I have another very interesting book that I've read it before, but I'm reading it again. This is a book that
Here, give that a good shot so they can see it.
It's a true story about this man, and there's a lot of history in it too about the Indians and the people that lived along the Juniata River. But he floated in his boat clear from up to in the little Juniata, where the Juniata River starts, and floated down to almost to Harrisburg, where it flows into the Susquehanna River. And he pointed out which was the best fishing places, and tells a lot of the history of the area too, the Juniata River Valley area. Like one of the things he talks about is Captain Jack used to live up between Mapleton and Mount Union, and the story of Captain Jack, how he went away one time and the Indians killed his family, and from then on he was an Indian fighter. I'm trying to remember some of the other things that are in here. There's a lot of very interesting. Well, one of them is about Huntingdon. It used to be called Standing Stone. And there's a big, I don't know what you call it, it's a stone that's only about 6 inches wide, like a monolith of some kind. And the first one disappeared. The Indians themselves, I think, took and then they put another one up. And the people from Mount Union, Huntingdon mostly, put up at one that's still there in Huntingdon. When you go into Huntingdon to the left, and there's a little park, and Standing Stone is still there. But the Indians named it Standing Stone. But there's a lot of interesting stories in here. and about the white settlers and the Indians. I think at first the Indians and the white people got along pretty well together. One of the ones that came from this area that was Chief Logan. We had a high school called Chief Logan, and Chief Logan was one of the good guys, but he moved out, I forget where he moved to, out west someplace, and some white guys killed his family. And from then on, he was a fighter against the white people. A lot of the Indians would have been friendly, but the white people come along, took over their land, and mistreated them, and they weren't all savages. They might have turned savages, maybe for good reasons. And so that book is interesting. And I always have my devotions in the morning and read my Bible, so that's part of what I do in the winter time. And along with reading and doing puzzles and sitting out in the family room talking to the other people. And I should watch my tapes that I have, and I don't watch them very much.
Talk about that weird movie we watched here a couple weeks ago.
This movie was weird because it was one of Bob Hope and Bing Crosby on the road movies, and he said to him that was new because he had never seen any like it.
I mean, I have heard of those old on the road movies that they used to do, but I never saw one. And when I finally saw one, I realized just how unbelievably cheesy they are.
And Dorothy Lamour was always in them. And
the one we saw was Road to Bali.
Yeah.
That was the one we watched.
And we watched the whole thing, though, and it was interesting. It was funny places. Funny as well.
For me, it was one of those things that was comically bad.
But you had to laugh.
Mm-hmm.
Made you laugh. Well, something makes you laugh. That was what the purpose of it was for in the beginning. And so somebody gave me another book to read just this morning. And I'll read it and give it to Sandy. And we read a lot of books about Amish people. And they're interesting people. And then this is a local magazine. The people that are the editors of this magazine, Pam and Ruth. Pam Broombaugh especially is a good friend of ours. We used to go up to their camp, and we had some of the best fun, camping and sleeping. And their bedroom was there was a smaller bedroom, one great big bedroom in the upstairs, and we used to have weenie roast in the summer and play games and things like that. But Nathan always enjoyed going to Mountain Inn. And one winter, couple of years, I don't know how many years ago, Mountain Inn burned down. The flue caught on fire, and I'm glad it wasn't us that had been there last. It was the guy that owned it. For some reason, he left. I think he left to go home, and the camp's caught on fire. So Nathan and I both cried about that because we had enjoyed that so much, going up there with Pam and with Aunt Oni, my sister, and her grandchildren. And one time, just my oldest sister, Sarah, and Oni and I went up there, and we stayed all night. And we played Rummy Cube, and we giggled and laughed like teenagers, and stayed all night and had our breakfast there. One time we were just my sisters and I that time, Bess and Ann and Sarah and Oni and me. We were sitting at the table having our dinner. I don't know what we were eating, but I looked out the window. Going up the fence, up at the porch post was this big black snake. And the reason it was going up there was a bird nest up there and had little birds on. And I looked at that, oh my God. I guess I shouldn't have said that. It wasn't nice. But we went out, and some people say you shouldn't kill black snakes. We did. Ann said, I'll kill its tail and you kill its head. So we found it. That's what we did. We killed a poor old black snake. I don't think you should kill them if they stay out in the woods where they belong. But if they're in my yard, I don't like them. I don't like any kind of a snake. But anyhow, I think every time I talk to you, I have to comment about our camping, some of our camping trips, because that's what we like to do the most. My parents were campers too. My dad had built a nice camp, but Nathan enjoyed it because it was something that he has good memories of from when we were going camping. He still wants to go up the mountain in the summer, just him and I, or if anybody wants to go along again, but just to go up and visit it. The guy that owns this camp, every summer he puts hummingbird feeders out. And we sat there and watched more hummingbirds than I ever saw at one time. He had so many hummingbird feeders. I usually have one every summer, and I counted like maybe 20, but you know the way hummingbirds flit around, it's hard to count how many hummingbirds you're seeing, really. And one of the girls that we went to camp with, and they own this camp that we're talking about in Carlisle, Gal. She's one of the editors of this magazine. And this magazine, I remember her telling us if things work out like we want to, we're going to be publishing a magazine, she and her cousin. So it's sold probably all over the United States and even some places overseas. It's mostly bought by people that used to live around the Maytown area and the areas that they tell about in here. And the pictures are one of the things that are always so nice about. And this is an actual picture of that little raccoon peeking over the porch rail. And people send pictures in to her too. The pictures in here are actual pictures of the area. And then there's even recipes and anyhow. Here's one of the things that Nathan and I talked about before, the Amish area. This is along the back mountain road in Big Valley. It tells who took the picture. And this picture here, these flowers are called Dame's Rocket. But I remember when I was a kid, they always called them wild phlox. But in the flower book it calls them Dame's Rocket. And they bloom profusely around in May. I remember they bloomed in May, toward the end of May, because they picked them to put in flowers in the graves, or flowers on the Memorial Day for the graves. And anyhow, Nathan and I just get back from went down to Walmart to pick up some medicine for me and for Florence and a few things. And of course the girls are working on a puzzle, and he and I had to stop by the puzzle and put some pieces in out here in the family room. And I'm glad I like to read, because I don't know what people do with themselves that don't read. Well, I guess they watch television. I don't watch a lot of television. It's so crappy. Some of the stuff is so ridiculous. I do like shows about wildlife and game shows and things like that on television. But there's a lot of things on there that's, my word for it, it's crap. Anyhow, can you think of anything else?
I can't think of anything else. How do you want to end this one?
How do we want to end it? Well, finally, spring, I think finally spring has come to the area because it's warming up, and today it rained rather than snowed. And I look forward to spring, my favorite time of the year. I love the flowers and the trees and the birds and the bees and the sunshine and all of these. And I'm thankful for springtime. If anybody asks me what I'm thankful for the most, one of them springtime. I'm thankful for my family and my church family and the people that live here. I'm thankful for these apartments, Rothrock apartments. They're called low-income apartments for people that are retired. And when I moved here, I gave my house to my daughter, that's Nathan's mom. And I've never been sorry. There have been times I thought, oh, I should go home, but no, this is my home now, and I like it. And I look forward to seeing my grandsons and my little great-grandsons. We've had some nice times here. Sometimes we have. Well, a couple of weeks ago we had a pizza party. One of the ladies says, what do you do for fun here? And I said, why don't we do something? And, well, we've had pizza parties and we've had Christmas dinners and Thanksgiving and things like that. So we had a pizza party. Now when summer comes, maybe we'll have an ice cream party. Cake and ice cream. Lots of toppings to put on the ice cream. But I think when spring comes, it makes me perk up anyhow. Because I've been having a cold and all winter, and I'm sure once springtime comes, I'll be feeling better. And I can go out and walk around. Sandy and I were outside for a while yesterday, and she said, look at the birds up there. And I said, what birds? I mean, way up high in the sky, there was some kind of birds that looked almost iridescent or white on the bottom of them. I thought, I don't know what they are, but they look like seagulls. And she said they wouldn't be around here. I said, well, they've been known to come around in these areas already. I don't know what they are, but... And then when you see the robins, you know, some of the robins stay around all winter. I didn't see any this winter, but I love when the robins show up, you know, summer. Spring is here and summer's on its way. And I like to plant flowers. So is that long enough?
That's up to you.
One of the things that the people that owns the apartments decided this year that they're going to dig up all around the building and put mulch around instead of flowers, because a lot of older people plant flowers and then they get older not able to take care of them. Originally, that's the way it was. It had shrubbery, like ornamental shrubbery around the outside and mulch, but no flowers and no weeds. So they said they were going to do that again this summer. And I like to feed the birds. Where I'm sitting now, I can see the birds at the bird feeder. And I tie my curtains back and I can watch them. And then the summer comes, I feed the hummingbirds. And I hang a hummingbird feeder out here right at the end of the porch where we can watch it when we're. It gives us something to watch, something to do. And one day when I first moved here, we were sitting out on the porch, and somebody said, "What time is it?" And I said, "Who cares?" So when you're retired and you're living in an apartment and there's nothing else to do, who cares what time it is? I thought that was funny. Who cares what time it is? Nobody has to go anyplace. Nobody, you know, you don't have a certain time that you have to get your meals, and I enjoy it. So I think that's about all I can think of this time, Nathan. I'll have to rack my brains someday to try to think of something different. I think when summer comes, maybe we'll find some different things to do. Maybe we can take a ride up the mountain and ride down the mountain like we did last summer. When we went down to Licking Creek, we saw the guys saw that big stick on the road.
Mm-hmm.
I think I told that story.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite places in the world would be Licking Creek, because when I was a kid we had a camp down in there. But it's such a lovely drive. You can start from here, go over the mountain, go clear down down to Mifflintown, and return the same way or come back a different way. Come up through the Hosstown Road, and it's a nice drive. Okay, that's about it for today.
All right.